Whip your hands, whip your hands, whip your hands, whip your. Come on, come on, come on. I know you're sleeping now. You gotta wake up some more, yeah? Okay, let's go. People fool us, the people lie to us, the government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they will not go. I said we tired with their lies, we tired with their promises that led us to a lot of damages. We tired with that speech they preach indeed, and now unique they deceive us. The thing we saw, it frustrates us. So why did you lie? Why did you steal? Why did you allow the citizens to beat? You see, we just tell you that why we voted you. But you fool us, you screw us, you use us and later on abuse us. So why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask. The people fool us, the people lie to us, the government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they will not corrupt. No one to trust. My people, no one to hope on. Nobody. My hope that I have been broken. I'm telling you, brother. So where are the schools? Where are the roads? Where are the jobs that they say they could afford? But they're too selfish. The people tired with their rhetoric. People tired, they tired. You see the reason why we ask why the government betray. They have enough of time, but yeah, then instead they delay. People suffer. No work for people crying for hunger. Look at. Your vision and your mission, your intention to the nation, they poor. You got nothing to show. Nothing. So why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask. They lie. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They betray us. They lie. The people fool us, the people lie to us, the government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they will not corrupt. We tired with their promises that led us to a lot of damages. We tired with that speech they preach indeed, and now unique they deceive us. The thing we saw, it frustrates us. So why did you lie? Why did you steal? Why did you allow the citizens to beat? You see, we just tell you that why we voted you. But you fool us, you screw us, you use us and later on abuse us. So why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They betray us so much. I said they lie.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Music is in the background, somebody. Right. Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to Bottoland. To our viewers, welcome to Bottoland for another edition. Today we'll be having one of the presidential hopeful in our gathering today. And I want to say, lean for Brother Oh, brother, for a long time, haven't seen you. Welcome back. And how you been? How you feeling? Jamal, also welcome to Butterline again. Jody,
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Linford.
Yeah, thanks that all of the guys can be on board tonight, and we're very happy to be here on this edition of the program, The Bottom Line.
So it's good to have you. Before Linford, you want to say something before we get the ball started? You want to play the music before we bring our guests in?
Yes, I think we have a music for I think it's a campaign trail. So let's see if we can roll that music. We want to apologize for the quality because it's going to be playing from our cell phone, so probably it might not be of top quality, but let's try our best. Councillor Tianwan Saye Gongloe is here for 2023 presidential election. Are you leading records with fun? Councillor Tianwan is here to reflect our man on Liberia. Liberia is 174 years old, but remains backward and underdeveloped in absolute terms and also in comparison to other African countries that are in fact much younger. Okay, for those of you who do not understand the language, it's in Mano, and they got a version also in Pele, in Madingo as well. But time does not permit us to go through that. But the music actually says that for those of you who boast of children or child, you'll come and see. And Tianwan is here, and Liberia is not for one person. Tianwan is here to tell us exactly about Liberia. And so let us say welcome to all of you, Paul, like you said before. And I don't know if we can bring in our guest now. We think he's in the background.
I think he's ready.
Okay, so we just leave him in. Councillor Gongloe, do you hear us?
I can hear you. I've been following you.
Okay, and you are loud and clear. We'd like to say welcome to the Bottom Line. And this platform offers the opportunity for us to discuss issues about Liberia, from politics to human interest, health, and whatever. And so it's our greatest desire to have you here tonight, Councillor, and you tell us, you're going to be telling us a lot, and we hope that you prepare, and we know that you are prepared. And tonight, for those of you who may not know that Councillor Gongloe will give him the opportunity to actually introduce himself, but he hails from Nima County with a root in Bon County. And so tonight, he's one of the presidential hopefuls, like Paul said earlier on, and he's going to be here with us as our guest and for the guests of you, our viewers. And so you're welcome to ask your questions. You can post your questions. We'll have the telephone number running later on, and you can also call us to ask the counselor if you have any questions. So, Paul, over to you. This is your show tonight, and I don't want to take away that much.
Well, thank you, Linford. Thank you for that brief introduction. I think the counselor is back in the background. He's struggling with the internet. We'll bring him on. And I would say to our viewers, kindly share the show to your viewer platform to get more people in. It will be fascinating tonight. So let me see if we can bring the counselor back on. Counselor, if you're ready, we just bring it in.
The internet had a little bit of problem. I don't know whether it's from my side or from your side, but it went off.
Yeah.
Okay, so Linford was asking me to say a little bit about myself. He started, it's true. My father is from Nimba, so I'm from Nimba. Liberia is a patrilineal society. But I grew up partially in Bond County. My childhood friends are from Bond County. They are my uncles and aunts. Because of my age now, in my 60s, I call myself the big nephew of the Bond County people. Um, my background, I'm an economist, I'm a lawyer. I graduated from University of Liberia in 1981. I got a law degree in 1987 school year. I entered the practice of law 1988. I was admitted as attorney at law in Monrovia at the Civil Law Court. I have practiced law for uh, 34 years now. I've been an activist, student activist. Linford will know when he was in Monrovia that I went to jail in 1978 as a student activist speaking truth to power for speaking truth to power, which is one of the reasons that I've dedicated my law practice to defending freedom of expression free of charge. I I think I can boast of being the number one lawyer when it comes to defending journalists, political activists, human rights activists, and just people who speak truth to power. Because I think we cannot build a democratic society without disagreement. And people's points of view should be respected. And so I defend journalists, I defend media institutions. I do that as my way of contributing to promoting a free society, uh, because you cannot have a culture of peace without allowing people to speak freely, to exercise their rights. That's what I've done. But besides being a critic of government of government over the years, I've also had my chance of serving government. From 1990 November to 1994 March, I was executive assistant to interim president Dr. Amos Sawyer. That was a great experience because it exposed me to international peace negotiations, going to Banjul, Lome, Yamoussoukro, Cotonou, Nigeria, all those places. I was in my early 30s, and that was a moving experience for me. Then under President Sirleaf, I became Solicitor General, and then later on, I was elevated to the cabinet as Minister of Labor, where I served for less than 2 years, and then based on policy differences, especially President Sirleaf's reluctance to fight corruption effectively, I resigned from government. And the timing was during the time that she asked the ministers to go on compulsory leave. Um, and by that time, I already decided to leave government. So I just used that opportunity to get out of government because I don't think we were effectively making the kind of change that many Liberians had hoped for after over 300,000 people have died. And later on, so I left government, established the Gongloe and Associates law firm, resumed defending rights of poor people, rights of journalists. For example, those who lead now, the chairman of the ruling party, the city mayor, several officials of government, when then opposition activists were my regular clients. I used to defend them. And then I went on, of course I do a little bit of commercial practice to sustain myself. But the cases that I spend time on researching and defending are cases involving poor people and people who are politically challenged. People who are difficult cases like when the 18 Granadians were charged with mercenarism for allegedly being involved in Ivory Coast, and when some Nimbayans were arrested and indicted for their part in the fracas that happened at Metal Steel that caused damage of destruction of some equipment belonging to metal steel. I defended them, and it was free of charge. Many of those cases of such nature are defended by me free of charge, because I wouldn't let people go without defense just because they don't have money. Um, of course, that doesn't make my practice profitable. I think as a lawyer for 34 years, I should be financially strong, but I enjoy getting people out of trouble, and that has been my contribution. I taught at the University of Liberia economics from 1982 to 1984. I was dismissed by President Doe. Then I was re-employed by the university in 1986 until 1990. Currently, I'm a professor at the law school. I teach criminal law, criminal procedure law, and human rights law. I've been a president of the Bar Association I was president for one term, which is the requirement for the bar. We have one term limitation. We don't have two terms. And the highlight of my administration of the bar was elevating the standard of the practice of law. Today in Liberia, every lawyer who practices has a license with a license number. And if you don't have a license, you cannot appear before courts in Liberia. That has caused a lot of quack lawyers to leave people who are not lawyers, who are pretending to be lawyers, to leave the profession. And the bar is now self-reliant because all bar members pay their dues to get licensed, and so the bar has money. And so I succeeded in constructing the first floor of a 3-story building that the bar is building as a headquarters on the Robertsfield Highway. Another highlight of my administration was that for the first time since the bar was established in 1907, it was only under my administration in 2019 that the bar was able to host an international conference of lawyers. We hosted the 2019 convention of the African Bar. So I will stop there, and then I will, unless somebody wants to ask me any other question.
Right.
But
Thank you, Councillor. I want to say congratulations for your accepting position to be the SB for your party. And first of all, my name is Lord Paul Cholope. I'm based in London, and we got Jamal who in Manchester, and Brother Jody Farr also in Sweden. So you have cross section of people in Europe here. And the bottom line is a platform that is mainly European platform. So to start with, I know that we know it's raining in Liberia. So you're running for the highest office. Do you want to lay out your platform or to talk about it before then the guys could come in with their question?
So my platform is based on 3 thematic areas: promoting or strengthening respect for the rule of law and human rights, seriously fighting corruption, and expanding the economy. All of those will lead to providing resources for the government of Liberia to provide social services such as education, which I think we can make free from kindergarten school to 12th grade, and textbooks can be provided for all students with the science laboratory and computer science lab for all students, to give them the same opportunities that other students have. We intend to grow more food by mechanizing agriculture, which we do through forming farmers cooperatives throughout the country and loaning them machines for producing rice and other food crops through a revitalized agriculture and cooperative development bank, while at the same time giving machines, farming tools, farming machines to the agriculture battalion of the armed forces of Liberia to jumpstart our food production, because Liberia is severely food insecure. According to FAO, out of every 100 bags of rice that we eat in Liberia, less than 20 bags are produced in Liberia. That makes it very food insecure. Imagine we are importing food from countries like India. We are importing rice from India, a country that has more than 1 billion people. They can feed themselves with rice and then export to us. That's a shame. We should be able to do much better than that with a population of about 5 million people and then a fertile land, Liberia. So then we when we do that, then we improve our health system. We cannot have a situation where JFK, that used to be the best hospital in the late 60s, early 70s, and even up to the early 80s, is now so down that Liberians have to go to Ghana and India to get better medical treatment. Some are even going to Rwanda. And yet Rwanda fought war like us. We can't be saying every day because of the war, Liberia is not meeting its pre-war status. Rwanda fought war too, but because of good leadership, Rwanda has gone far. That war story is no more in Rwanda. I've been there twice, and I'm so impressed with the country. Okay. You know, so these are the kind of things we want to do: improve electricity and expand employment by creating more companies all over the country. It can be done by giving incentives. There are people who want to invest from around the world. Once there's a good atmosphere, and I believe we can provide it, and we want to provide incentive for any company that establishes a factory 50 miles away from Monrovia, and to do so incrementally until we can reach the end of Liberia, like Kipamas in Maryland, other places, and then we can create jobs outside Monrovia. Monrovia is congested because the economy is concentrated here. We have to decentralize the economy, just as we need to decentralize governance. Then Liberia can function all over Liberia.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor. Jabbar, you want to come in?
Yeah, I would like to say welcome, Councillor. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. I just want to go straight to your visit to America recently. A couple of months you were back in the US, said you met a lot of politicians and power brokers. I think you had a great time in the US. Could you please tell us what did you take away with that to Liberia with you?
Well, I mean, the trip to the US was largely to expose myself and create awareness about my intentions and what I intend to do when I take over power in Liberia, and then to meet some US officials, which went well. The purpose of my trip was realized because I expected to go to maybe 2 or 3 states. I was thinking about Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Minnesota, and Massachusetts. But fortunately, I was able to go to 12 states that have large concentration of Liberians. And it was Liberians that took me to those states. I didn't even pay any money to go to the States. It was Liberians living in America who even sent me money to pay for my visa fee. And then they bought my ticket to go to America, and then put me in hotels, bought my ticket to go to 12 states, put me in hotels in those places, which was a great show of support. And while I was in the States, the support for me increased. People were leaving from every political party, opposition and ruling party, and listening to me. Because they were listening to me, they came on my side. They were pledging that they would support me, and that was really pleasing to me. I'm struggling with the connection here.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, God. All right. Sorry, my phone, my computer was like trying to go off. So yeah, that was. And then
you are loud and clear. So just flow.
Yeah. And then I went to the State Department and met officials of the State Department. I had 2 hours of conversation. I was very pleased with the conversation that I had there. And only one thing I can disclose by permission, because they asked me one thing, and that was they asked me one thing: what is the one thing you want, like America, to do for Liberia? I didn't talk about money. I didn't talk about any economic aid. I said, if America can assist us to hold a free and fair election, I will be very happy. And they said that we will do.
Great. So, Linford, you want to come in before Brother Mark, before Jody?
Yeah, let me say welcome again to the counselor. And the counselor is my big brother and at the same time my nephew. So I don't know
Oh,
if,
That is true.
yeah, I don't know if I can call my big brother my nephew. So that part of the tradition I know, yeah. And
Before you go further, I was in Blitana last year, is a place in Bonkande. I went for the funeral of the late Richard Flomo. He was a lawyer. So I paid tribute as president of the bar. And while I paying tribute, I told him I paid tribute as president of the bar. But I want to tell people in Blitana that I'm a nephew in Bonkande here. So you advise your goats and chickens not to come around me because otherwise they will enter my car. So, and that's a tradition in Bonkande,
yeah,
So
yeah, definitely.
I was on the stage there. I saw the white chicken. It came and passed by the casket. It kept coming to me. I told George Conto, if that chicken come there, it'll be gone. The chicken came right under my chair. I dare grab it. I took it straight to my car. And then the owner said, one lady said, "Oh, that's my chicken." So Chief Isaiah of San Diego District said, "Oh, your chicken failed to listen to the notice. Cllr Gongloe gave a clear notice as a nephew, so your chicken is gone."
Yeah. So back to business. You spoke about your plan to fight corruption, the three cardinal things on your plan: corruption, rule of law, and education. But
No,
I
the
overheard you.
economy, expanding the economy.
Yeah, okay, expanding the economy. But I overheard you, talking about other things which are not part of those three cardinal things. I agree that the economy will evolve from some of these things. But how do you plan to tackle all of these things at once? Given the situation in Liberia, since the war, Liberia has not totally recovered, and it has even become worse. And besides that, uh, every president has 6 years term, and the following 6 years is now a guarantee. So how will you have a lot of things on your plate just within the first year of your administration if you should win?
You know, a good leader starts immediately, and then when you start doing things, the citizens follow you, and you can actually expedite what you want to do. Thomas Sankara, in short time in Burkina Faso, turned Burkina Faso around. Murtala Mohammed in Nigeria was just leader for 6 months, but he was such a good leader that even though he was killed after in 6 months, the Nigerians appreciated what he did during his time so much they felt that they had started on the path to better governance, and they named an airport after him. I strongly believe that I may not be able to do everything that is on my mind, but in the first year, I will turn things around in a different direction. I want to be a project manager for redirecting the coast of Liberia from retrogression to progress. And I believe that we can start on a path of progress. Today in Liberia, the wastage is just too much. If you've been following news in Liberia, for example, the former Minister of State will go to Banga, your county, the county of my uncles and aunts, and give $1 million to Farmer Power and Tappers Association. What kind of wastage is that? Where are you getting all that money from? And salaries of people at a higher level in government appears to be so astronomical, even though it is in secret. We don't know. There's nothing written about the president's salary, the vice president, the chief justice and justices, the speaker and members of the House of Representatives, and the president pro tem and senator. We just guess. And so their salaries are kept in secret. but they are kept in secret because they are so astronomically high, I guess, and maybe it puts the disparity between they and the civil servants. So one of the ways that we will generate money is to cut down that wastage, cut down the high salaries, combat corruption, and then we'll save money to provide the social services I'm talking about in education, in health, in green food, in building more roads, developing other, carrying on other infrastructure development, building more schools and clinics so that all Liberian children can have access to good schools and health, so that more Liberians can survive and not die from easily curable diseases. Liberia is among the 10 worst countries, according to international statistics, when it comes to childbearing. The 10 countries that pregnant women dying so often. Liberia is number 7. That's not a good news for us. And the same thing, we are among the countries with the highest infant mortality rate, and the country where a lot of people die from easily curable diseases. You know that you say that every time you hear somebody that die in Kwaipa, young people, and they die from easily curable diseases. We have to reverse that. And the only way to reverse that is to stop the wastage and to stop, if not stop, curtail corruption. And the way I intend to do it, and that's the question everybody's mind. How do you want to fight corruption? First, open and transparent governance, in my view, is the first step to prevent corruption. So everybody's salary, from the president to the least civil servant, should be on the government website, salaries and benefits. I'm sure you live in Norway. I'm sure you can go on the internet and get the salary of your officials of government there. I don't know the salary of the president, all these people, as I was saying, Liberians don't know. And we are the employers, we don't know. So we put the salary, the asset declaration, everything on the internet. And then the next thing I want to do that I haven't seen in any country, but because of Liberian story, we have to approach it differently, is to have something called quarterly lifestyle audit. Every quarter, the auditors will come first to the office of the president. Mr. President, you are worth this. How can you explain the expenditure that you have made over the past 3 months that exceeds your worth, your income, your salary, your benefit, and your asset, the value of your assets? How come, for example, Mr. President, how come you bought a $200,000 Mercedes Benz? If I can't explain, I will resign. But that's the standard I was set for my ministers or officials of government. Anybody who is building a 3-4-story building that is 200,000 or more, in fact, that is 100,000, what that exceeds what is worth, I would dismiss you immediately. Then you don't enjoy my pleasure anymore. They are political appointees. They are not civil servants. You don't have to go through any kind of investigation. I would dismiss you and turn you over to the Anti-Corruption Commission for full investigation and prosecution, which will lead to corrupt officials going to jail for 5 to 10 years and the assets seized by the state and given back to the people. And when we do that, and 3, 4, 5 ministers are in jail for 5 to 10 years, I'm sure it will create fear for the other corrupt government officials. Some of them might even resign, not want to stay in government. And it will create fear for people who are corrupt to enter government. What make government a decent place? And like I go around saying, government is a place to serve, not to steal.
Okay. So government is a place to serve, not to steal. Brother Farr, you want to come in with your question? And then we'll... You're muted.
I think you're muted.
I say greetings to my big brother, Mr. Gongloe, Councillor Gongloe, and thanks for all what you've been doing for the country. There's a saying that says, where there is no clear options, men must act in order to save the state from a total collapse. Councillor Gongloe, you've been around for a very long time. There is an imprint There are imprints that hang over Liberia. The imprints of corruption, the imprints of mismanagement, abuse of power, and the Civil War. The Summer Doe era, the Charles Taylor, Prince Johnson, Ellen Johnson imprints. And these things hang over the country. As someone from a legal background, what are you going to do to dismantle these imprints that hang over the country for which the country cannot move forward? That's one question. And another question that I have, because I want to you to take down the question and you respond because of time. Two, you talk about decentralization, which was one of my questions. And Liberia operates in the Cllr form of government, not a federal. And looking at unitarianism is some form of colonialism that impoverished the massive rural area, and everything is centralized under a central government. And I listen to you how you want to carry on development and other politicians in the country. Are you going to incorporate some form of federalism to decentralize the system to empower, for example, the states, for example, like Nima County? The Lanco been around in Nima County since if I'm right, historically, 1926. And Nima County has generated trillions of dollars to the America and the Sweden that I'm in. And the county has not even, if we go to historical collection, the county has not even benefited $20 million cash to carry on some development. So how are you going to dismantle this kind of a bureaucracy that we have in the country in order for these states that investors come to invest in and they don't even get 10% of the investment of the revenue? How are you going to do that, sir?
Okay, now there is some law that I have to draft as a consultant. Is called Revenue Sharing Formula Law, so that the central government and the local government, from the superintendents to even municipalities and all of that, sharing a formula for sharing the revenue generated from the country, and some from the countries. It happens in other countries. So through the UNDP, we drafted that law. I'm not sure whether it has passed, but I think it was submitted to the legislature. So, but yes, we have a Republican system with a government that is not federal. It's a unitary government. But if we look at even states in the United States, one state, the states are decentralized. You got state governments that operate by themselves. You have counties that operate in the state. If you take one state of United States to be like Liberia, their governance is decentralized. So we can do the same thing here, and we can get even superintendents elected. Once we amend the Constitution to do that, we can do that. We can have superintendents elected, just as the Constitution calls for the election of paramount chiefs, clan chief, and town chiefs. We can do that. We can have city mayors elected. The statute that created the various cities called for election, but the 2018 Local Government Act removed that and said that city mayors will be elected by the president, which is giving so much power to the president again. And I think that there should be an amendment of the law of the Constitution to allow for greater decentralization. That is doable if you have a president like me, a lawyer who can explain why that is important, the benefit for the country in terms of fast-tracking development, I think is doable. So yes, we're engaged in decentralization. But when it comes to, you were talking about 1926, 1926 is Firestone. Lamco was much later on, in the late 50s, early 60s. So, but now there's a little bit of progress that have been made, that the three counties that the iron ore metal steel, the iron ore company metal steel operating, do get some appropriation percentage of money. And I think Nima County alone gets, I think, $1 million or so. So the county, Nima County gets a lion's share of what goes to the three counties. Bon County gets some, and then Grand Bazaar County gets some as well. The question is, how is that money used? There has been some problem that sometimes the central government will hold on it. So when I'm president, I'll make sure that the countries get what is stated in the agreement, and then we can monitor the usage of the money to make sure that it is not pocketed by those who should use it for the benefit of the project affected areas. Yeah. So those are the things we will do. But you can fight corruption by making sure there are consequences for every act of corruption. That's why I'm saying that I will institute quarterly audit, lifestyle audit, not institutional audit. Because if you are living above your income, people see it visibly. But now we need to put a check to it, and for you to account for your extra expenditure, you cannot explain that it is a gift, because under the code of conduct, no official government can receive a gift that is valued above $250. So there's no way that you be building a 3-4-story building house and say that it's 3-4-story building and say that, oh, a friend of yours gave you a gift or it's a donation from somewhere. We have to stop it. It's not magic that Rwanda, even UAE, Singapore were able to transform. It took leadership. It only takes one person to have the commitment to move the country forward, and it can happen.
Right.
When you start fighting conflict of interest, like the popular video that is on the internet, where the man explained that in Singapore, a minister was taken on vacation by a businessman. When he returned, he was dismissed for conflict of interest, because if you go take a gift from the businessman by taking on vacation, what will happen if that business commits an offense or violates any of the regulations that is promulgated by you for governing the country? You will be soft on that person. We are human beings. So the best thing is not to engage in conflict of interest. That's why, as president, I will not engage in that business, because obviously there will be conflict of interest. If a president, for example, has a share in a construction company, you can rest assured that every construction company will be awarded to that company by the Minister of Public Works, just to keep his or her job.
Great. So before Jamal comes in, we've got a question for you, Councillor, from our viewers. And the question says, thanks, Councillor. The question, please, what will you say to your chances of winning election? Do you think when you campaign around Liberia that people will actually take in what you are saying?
That's true. That's a good question. Yesterday, I met a group of women, about 200 women or so in Marshall here. Strangely, like they do sometimes to candidates or they used to do in the past. Nobody asked me for money. I explained to them what motivated me to decide to run for the office of presidency of Liberia, and then I explained just what I'm explaining on the air. They were so pleased. They were clapping. If some people watched the video yesterday, it was live. They were happy. Today, I was in a place called Nidowin, near Roberts Field, that's near Smeno Taste. And again, I spoke, they asked me questions, the same thing I was talking about, combating corruption, expanding the economy, strengthening the rule of law, for example. And like I told them, look, there will be no exportation of round logs under my administration. We will encourage the production of Liberian-made furniture, and we say no Liberian government office should use foreign-made furniture to promote furniture. We have the largest timber reserve in West Africa. We have more forest than Nigeria, Ivory Coast, and Ghana combined. We have 43% of the remaining tropical forest, which means we have a huge reserve of timbers. So why can't we be a furniture producing country, very good furniture from mahogany and other, and make money from it, create jobs and make money, and then create a good name for Liberia? Whether we say, oh, the best furniture in the world comes from Liberia, that is doable. That is the kind of leadership I want to provide. People are happy. I have a lot of silent supporters. I even go to government offices and people are taking pictures of me with a broom, because the symbol of my campaign to be is the broom that will wipe out corruption and every aspect of bad governance. And the message is catching. There's nobody, not even the ruling party, that has that type of symbol. You know, the broom that I use, the palm leaf broom, got several strands. If you take one, you break it, it's easy to break it. But when you hold it together, it's hard to break. So together, we Liberians can fight corruption and clean governance so that Liberia can be delivered. Great. So that message, and I believe from what I see even now, imagine I just got into the picture. I just got elected standard bearer on Friday. But even before that, people were already saying there are three opposition leaders. Even before my party elected me standard bearer. So I said to people, you know, who say in Liberia, like you're looking for something, you say, I am the factor in the Liberian politics. Great. I am the opposition leader that people are looking for.
So based on you are
just a minute. To some error that I made, Firestone, the iron ore Manima was discovered in 1950, and and Lamco started operation in Liberia in 1955. Just to correct that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. 50s, 60s. Yeah. Thank
you.
So
based on the hand, Jamal, will you want to follow up with your question when you started with first, or you have another question before we get going for?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the councillor. Probably you spoke about the symbol. I would just like does he has a sample with the broom with you right now?
Yes, I do. You remind me. Here's my broom.
Oh, we don't see that.
Here's my broom. They were just lying right by me. Here's my broom.
Your video.
And I walk the streets of Monrovia with my broom. I even go to church with my broom.
Councillor, with that, I want you to take you back to a statement made by honored Lima Bowie about United Front, the opposition, United Opposition Front. I think you also made a statement against that, concerning that will be a national suicide. And she spoke about if you want George Weah to have George Weah as one-time president, opposition should have a united front. And at some point, you also said that I think some questions the journalists were asking you whether you will be having some open up talk with some oppositions, and you say you'll be open up to. How do you reconcile with the two? Like having a united opposition front with Lina Bogwe, and you are saying that you also you're open up to discussion of any political parties or opposition to a future discussion of partnership.
Yes, I mean, I think that collaboration, cooperation, alliances must be based on unanimity of views on the key issues, the way forward. Uh, People must have the same conclusion on what is wrong with Liberia and unanimity of view on the path to the future. How do we intend to resolve it? I've not heard any opposition leader agree with me on having a quarterly lifestyle audit, for example, to make sure that we fight corruption, we examine ourselves, that a president, sitting president, is audited. I want us, because you cannot. Mahatma Gandhi said the change must begin with yourself. I will cooperate with anybody who will agree on my prescription for moving Liberia forward. Strengthening the rule of law, combating corruption, and dealing with all of the other issues. I want us, anybody who agrees with me, is somebody that I would like to talk with. I don't want to cooperate with somebody who would do the same thing that President Weah is doing or other leaders did before. Because I'm not looking for presidency. I want to be a project manager, I say, to redirect the course of Liberia. Anybody who is thinking about being president in the normal term is probably out of his mind, doesn't understand what is happening in Liberia now. This country is not a normal country to talk about presidency. All the pomp and pageantry about presidency is going to come 20, 30 years from now, our grandchildren. But Liberia is our real obligation right now is to put Liberia on a normal path, which is, it's every parameter of development that you think about Liberia is behind.
Great. So thank you, Councillor. Jody, you want to come in before we get Linford?
Yes, Brother Paul. Councillor Gongloe, Liberia has signed a lot of, contracts with foreign government or companies over the past, almost 2 centuries. And I bring in this, during the Trump presidency, the NAFTA agreement between Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. was revisited because, according to President Trump, that time did not serve the interests of America. So going back to Firestone, I believe Charles D.B. King was the president at that time when Firestone came to Liberia, and Barclay was serving as the Secretary of State. You are older, you can correct me if I make a mistake. And Firestone was paying
Charles D.B. King.
Okay, Charles D.B. King, sir, was paying 6 cents per acre. And during Madame Salif's time, over 60 different concessions were signed also. That doesn't serve the interests of the Liberian people. First of all, before continue with my question, are you a nationalist? Or what does your party stand for? You can make that clarity. So looking at these concessions and deals that were signed since the 1950, the Firestone and the Lamco and other contracts, are you someone that going to revisit the contract that doesn't serve the interest of Liberia? Because we are always in a position of selling the whole stock that doesn't create jobs for Liberia. Instead, we export the whole stock. For example, let's say Liberia was a country that raised cattle, and America come to buy 200 or thousands of cows from Liberia, and we export the whole cow to America, forgetting to know that we could do the slaughtering, the cleaning, the packaging, which will create jobs for our people. What Gongloe government going to do to revisit the contracts that were signed that doesn't benefit the interests of the Liberian people, but only benefit those so-called investors that come to the country? What are you going to do when it comes to the concession? Are you going to revisit them? My next question will have to do with the president flying of private jets. According to the Liberian Constitution, you from a legal background, that nobody's supposed to receive a gift. If I'm right, you can correct me again, over $1,000. And we have a president who flies a private jet. When lawmakers receive some money that is legally in the system, the whole country go upside down. But up to now, I have not heard any politician including my political leader, Mr. Alexander Cummings, to raise the issue of the private jets as to who paid for it and how did the president get this private jet. Can you elaborate on that, sir?
Okay, I think the issue of private jet was raised right from the beginning by, I think, some activists, was maybe Costa or some of the other people raised that issue, and he hasn't. Yeah, the question, I don't know whether he owns it. I need more information on whether or not he owns it or whether it was just provided for him to travel on. But even that is in violation of the law. You're right. Nobody is supposed to get a gift more than $250,000. So the flying time, if it is a gift, is in violation of the law. Under our law, the president cannot be sued, and the president cannot also sue. So it's the Senate, it's the legislature that has the obligation of calling the president to book. Unfortunately, we have a legislature that is virtually, I can say, on one side. They are only opposition people by how they got into the legislature, but they are not opposition largely by how they vote. Everybody there virtually vote on one side. So that's the unfortunate thing. So that is actually in violation of the law. When the president violates the law, the thing to do is to impeach the president. That's how you do. We have had president removed, Charles D. King that you talk about, when he violated the law, and the League of Nations said that he and his vice president were involved in selling slave labor to Fernando Pool. The Senate called him and said, if you don't resign, we impeach you. And there were only 10 senators in Liberia at that time. Unfortunately,
Right. Is the counselor frozen? I guess his internet is frozen. So when he come out, there is a question here for the counselor. So
Yeah, Paul.
yeah.
If you mute yourself, I want to give you a call.
sorry, is the network here in Liberia. You can hear me?
Yeah, counselor, we can hear you, Flo.
Right. Yeah, the network dropped. I couldn't see you people. So that is it. The other question about contracts can always be reviewed. Remember when President Salif came to power, the Metal Steel contract that had been signed by under Judy Bryant government was reviewed. I participated in fact, I was acting Minister of Justice, and I wrote Metal Steel and said we'll review the contract, and therefore they should not engage in substantial performance that would make it difficult to review. So I started participating in negotiation. We won the first trip to New York, and I don't know why. When we came back, I was supposed to go on the second trip, but maybe I was too stiff and tough, or raising some of the concerns that you are concerned about. My name was dropped from the negotiation team. So the other two trips that went on, my name was on the Firestone negotiation team, was dropped. I saw my name on the LISCA negotiation team for the maritime thing. My name was dropped from those negotiations. So the short of the law is that, yes, contracts can be looked into again. People can always, in the interest of the country, times keep changing. And if you look in my 10-point agenda for a better Liberia, the question of value addition is key. Value addition is what brings jobs and increases tax revenue, because the revenue from raw material is low. When you add value to products, you get higher revenue, you create jobs, and from jobs, you can also get income tax, and then you can get more taxes from the goods produced by the value addition companies. So that is doable.
Great. Thank you for that, Councillor. I think your will it be your brother or your nephew or your Linfa, you want to come in? I don't know how to describe the relationship.
That's my uncle.
Oh,
I'm the uncle here.
all right.
Okay. Let's for me, I would like also transition a little bit. We've talked about the economy and your view, your plan to become president. But now let's look at the current political situations in the country. We'll go into the economy as well again, and then the security issues that Liberia faces today. Now, we have a government that has been in power for the past 5 years, going to 6 years, and this government is replete with corruption, so to speak. Not in my own words, the international community has come out and accused this government of corruption, and that is evidenced by even 3 officials being sanctioned. Now, my question is, if Cllr Gongloe becomes president tomorrow, taking over this kind of government, how do you change the whole narratives from what we have now to a good governance or good government or good governance system? Because the system itself is totally broken down.
The only way to change a system is to act, not just to talk. Like Dr. Tibota usually says, it's good to walk the talk. And if I may borrow anything from True Party, it is a motto: deeds, not words. If you're a leader, if you don't do what you said, nobody will follow you. We can change things by displaying change. Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. And one example is from President Talbot. The man used to say everybody should come to work on time. I was on the university campus in the 70s. President Talbot used to stay at Bentall. He was staying in Bentall, and he used to come to work 7:30 in the morning, and 8 o'clock, after saying his prayer in the chapel, he would be at his desk. 9 o'clock, he would go around Monrovia, going from ministry to ministry. If a minister is not there, he dismisses you. But he didn't sit in Bentall and ask the security to check on the ministers before dismissing them. But because he himself, disciplined himself, was coming to work on time, he had the moral authority, act in a way that the public would trust him. Therefore, his change was effective. Everybody started going to work on time because the president himself was coming to work on time. So if you are president and you don't steal, you don't engage in business deals and all kinds of conflict of interest, people will respect you, and nobody will bring you indecent proposals. When they know that you are straight and you don't engage in corruption, people who want to bribe you will say, I don't carry that thing to that man. Otherwise, you'll end up in jail. I think that is the only thing that can change things easily. And I think it is doable because that's what I've practiced all my life. I'm 66 years old now. I'm not young. They say you can't teach an old dog new trick. I can't adopt a new behavior pattern anymore. I am who I am. I try to be straight. So that is how we transform things. First, we will not appoint crooked people. And if people intend to be crooked when they're in our government, they know that Cllr Gongloe will take action against you. You can be whoever. You can be somebody I've known forever. The law is the law. We will equally apply it to anyone, and there will be consequences for any wrongful conduct. That is how we change this place.
Great. Councillor, that's good. I just want to follow up on what Linford had just left in regards to the bar government. Our president recently visited the United Nations where he delivered a speech. And that speech had been widely celebrated among his partisan. And he did say something after his speech. There was an interview. I want you to listen to this, and I want your view on it.
With all doing anything, the people giving a mandate, and they were with me from 2005 to date. We're all doing anything. I I've done something. Trust me. I'll be re-elected.
Without doing anything, Labrepo gave me a mandate, and I did something, and I will be re-elected. What are your thoughts on this?
Look, President Weah and his supporters set a very low bar for him. You know, sometimes when he speaks, which is a normal thing for leaders to do, they're like, "Oh, you heard the president speaking; he spoke well." How can that be an achievement? You know, oh, there is peace in the country, there is no war. How can that be an achievement when this country went to conflict because of bad governance? You know, with corruption being the main feature of bad governance. And that's what led us to conflict. The conflict in the country was not based on religious differences or tribal differences. It was because we had bad governance, stealing, with very few people having the income generated from the resources of this country. That same thing is happening right now. And somebody would say he's succeeding. The President Weah had not built for the 7-story building for himself in the first year, 2018. Maybe the other ministers would not have been stealing, or he would have had the moral authority to also punish ministers. But when he built this for the 7-story building for himself opposite Baptist Seminary and tore down a brand new building on 9th Street and rebuilt it in no time. And when he realized that the public was concerned about that, then he said, "Oh, the building is from my son, Timothy Weah." And I understand that Timothy Weah called and said, "Pardon, put me in trouble because I have not declared poverty. The IRS in the United States could come after me." The next day, shamefully, the president office said, "Oh no, that mistake we made yesterday, the billion is for the president." So that type of attitude of, you know, a level of corruption that I display even at a high level of dishonesty is something that set the stage for every important person in government to be corrupt, you know, and so they are following him. He's leading by example. He's leading this country down the path of corruption, and because of that, he will be voted out. We will not even get 10% of the election in 2023 because people voted for him before. They voted for him before based on wishful thinking that since he became a
Sorry, there's some feedback we're getting. Guys, can you please mute yourself? We're getting your feedback.
And not from you.
Yeah.
I've not touched anything.
Yeah, so I think somebody is listening to the device.
Yeah, they always listen to me, you know, and they know that I don't hide anything. But the thing is that President Weah has performed so badly. Look, an example, you don't live in a country, but West Pointers voted for President Weah 100%. Nothing has changed in West Point. The same way 6 o'clock in the morning, they used to be sitting on the beach, you know, with men sitting so, women sitting so, and the children sitting there and they're looking at each other and you know, taking care of them, you know, themselves, going to latrine. There's no government toilet. They are still doing the same thing today. As little as that, he did not even elevate the dignity of the people who are building government toilets there. He had not even stayed there one night to know the problem. President Tubman went and slept in West Point during his time as president, man from Bensonville. And after that, he built some housing units in West Point. But President Weah, who pride himself as coming from the ghetto, coming from poor family, coming from West Point or Gibraltar or wherever, has not shown that level of concern for West Pointers. That's why when he went there the other day, I think he went with water tank and a lot of security behind. This is the man who used to go and have big events at the sports page there. This time he went to MV Massacre School and the security people all over the place because he knows that the West Pointers are angry with him. He will not even win 5% of the votes in West Point. So, And that is going to happen all over the country. I just got word today that I'm very popular in Grand Crew. strangely, because you know, Grand Crew people are feeling the negative, serious negative effect of bad governance. Because right now, for example, the price of rice is going up. If it is $20 in Monrovia, you can rest assured that it will be $35, $40 in Grand Crew. And the economy there is very, very poor. So they only rely on their children abroad to send them money, and things are tough because the road condition. How can you be president and people 6 months of the year your county is cut off from Monrovia? It never used to happen before. The money that he used to build his private home, millions of dollars, the money that he's spending in a luxurious way over, could put 3-4 caterpillars on the road between Ganta and Grand Crew, and the road will be meeting all through the year. When I was growing up in Tapata, cars were coming from Kipamas all during the year because the roads were meeting. There were public way yards in Tapata, Tota, Kanwiyeken, all along the road to maintain the road. He's not doing that, but he's spending money as if he's a prime minister of UAE or Singapore or any developed country. We're making no effort to elevate the country up. So you know who will vote for him? They will be voting on his performance record. That's why I disagree with people who say as much as collaboration is important, as much as coming together is important, there is no way that we can win the election. If there will even be a second round, because I believe I can win 65% because I speak straight to the Liberian people in simple terms. I don't speak in diplomatic terms. As somebody who has been to jail many times, I'm not afraid of anything. So I speak straight to the Liberian people, and I believe they will vote for me. But just in case there's a second round, it will be between opposition parties and not the ruling party and the opposition party. Because even in the opposition party, people are disappointed. Sometimes people pretend. If you remember 4 or 5 months back, the same people that were sanctioned were people that seditions were asking President Weah to dismiss. You know, there were among the people that, if you remember, there were among the people that seditions were calling upon President Weah to dismiss and say, these people are so corrupt, they are giving us bad name, and if they remain in your government, we may not win election. They said it. Then America sanctioned them, and then you hear some people talking. That's deception. Because what America is doing is exactly what people on the ground felt should happen.
So, Councillor, let me follow up. In one of your interview, I got this from Africa News. He did use a language on the president that he virtually illiterate. What do you mean by that?
You know, functional illiteracy is not going to. I'm not talking about illiterate people who are not going to school. My mother was illiterate, plenty of illiterate people in my family, and they are victims of bad governance because government should have made people literate. But a functional illiterate is somebody who said a notebook, but they cannot perform equal to the book that they say they know. President Weah say he got, I think, 2 master's degrees or so, and he does not display any level of knowledge even equal to a good high school graduate from St. Mary's or St. Patrick or CWA or even Top Maha. So when you don't perform equal to the book you say you know, then functionally you are not a bookman.
Right. So I think Jamal and Brother Far want to come in this. So which one first? Brother Far, you want to come before Jamal, or Jamal, you want to come? And before that announcement, this program is also been aired on our online radio, and I will put that up. And for our viewer that want to call in, there's a WhatsApp number that is displayed on the screen that you can call and ask your question to our guests. So,
yeah,
Jamal.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor. I just want to go straight to take you back to years back from the 70s when you were part of the Progressives, the PLA, the Moja, coming to working with the late Professor, may so rest in peace. And according to one of your slogan right now is, let me look at it, a better Liberia is possible. I think if you look at the word like in the course of the people, the story continuum, well, these words were crafted. by people like you and part of the progressive. You should be one of the, can I say that it's the last man standing among the progressive? And you've been preaching the songs all those years. All those years. And why is it that Liberians are not giving the progressive the chance to run this country? The only opportunity you had some years back was we had the opportunity to work with the Dole government. I mean, if you look at 80 to 90% of people were the advisors to Samuel Dole, and came back on 1990 to 1994. The Professor Sawyer was there. It was in the hands of the progressive. And you're coming back again to tell us the thing you can do better. Why is it that Liberians are not listening to people like you?
Okay, and President, we are saying the cause of the struggle has ended. But yet, I just told you about the struggle of the West Point people to even have a government toilet. So we have been
Jamal, please mute.
We have been advocating for elevating the masses of the people to a better life, a better life, to a better standard of living, and not to have a situation where a few people benefit so much from the resources of the country. And I believe that if we had election, if the coup had not taken place and we had election in 1983, as President Tubber had planned, the progressives will have won, and the progressives will have laid a firm foundation for good governance. All right? Largely, I'm not saying they are all perfect, but largely the progressives are people who stand by ideals, and even if some of them are found to be engaging in stealing, it cannot be to the level of other people, because we are very critical of each other's, and so the idea of lifting the general masses of the people, uplifting them to a better standard of living, is a good idea. I don't think anybody can criticize that. The only thing we can say is, how do you intend to do it? And that's why I've laid out my plan on how to do it. And I'm making clear promises to Liberian people. I will not engage in business. I will not engage in corruption. I will not engage in abuse of office in any form. People know that. And then I am going to win on my track record. Working with the president for 4 years, I'm the only person who actually practiced to be president, because I worked with president before, so I can say that I got an internship or I did an apprenticeship in the office of the president and knows how the president, the office of the office of the president runs, meeting with president, other presidents, planning for international conferences. I used to write speeches for Dr. Sawyer. So I learned a lot. And I believe that, and that's what made me a good minister, holding consultations, because nobody has the same, nobody had monopoly of ideas. I was a good solicitor general, I was a good minister, I was good president of the bar. The bar is the one organization of very enlightened people in the country, a lot of lawyers, well-trained lawyers, and they gave me a good mark for my stewardship at the bar. And so I believe that I am the most prepared for a long time in this country. I'm the most prepared to be president, because my views are known. My views are known. Many of the people who are running now, if you check what were their views on the Tree Party, they will have no view, zero. What were their views on a Doe? No view. What were their views on a Cllr? No views, because they didn't want to take the risk. When you speak out like we do as advocates, you risk your life, you risk opportunities for jobs and for other things. As a lawyer, there are some contracts that will not come to me because I'm viewed to be anti-government because of my clear views on bad governance and lack of respect for the rule of law and lack of respect for human rights. So sometimes they consider me controversial, but I speak for the people of Liberia. I want to have my country to be truly a sweet land of liberty for all. It's not a land of liberty, it's not sweet. I want a Liberia that all Liberians will will not want to depart from any day. And if they have an opportunity to depart, they want to run back to. That's what you call home, sweet home, a true land of liberty.
Right.
But we are not done so. That's why Liberia, the only thing we can claim is we are the oldest independent country in Africa. What that means, when countries that gain independence, 40 years ago are doing much better than you who gained independence almost 200 years ago, it means that as a country, we are irresponsible. And some of our leaders have shown that they are recklessly irresponsible and insensitive to the needs of the people. And that is all that the progressives have been trying to do in this country. So when they say, oh, progressives don't build houses, some of them don't dress, their lifestyle is simple. Yes, we want to live that lifestyle because we rather elevate the people. Our pride, our comfort, our satisfaction is when majority of the people are satisfied.
Thank you, Councillor. Let me follow up with what Jamal just said. The progressive from the 80s, the 70s up to the time of the war. The progressive now, there are quite a few people from the progressive that have been in government. And our current lawmakers, we have few progressive within there. My own uncle, company we say, and get the likes of Senator Nathan Tiaji, they are all progressive. They are in there to make the difference. It's not happening. Why will you think now the Liberian people will take the progressive seriously now for the presidency?
Well, let me speak for myself. I'm a progressive too, but I don't account for everything. And progressivism is not a static title. Some people can be progressive and become reactionary and go back, and do different things. For example, I wouldn't take $30,000 in there when I know it is actually theft of property. It is misapplication of entrusted property because the $30,000 that the lawmakers took has no justification in our Constitution. Because the Constitution gave them authority to take our revenue and appropriate it for our security and our welfare. There is nothing that says that those who keep the money, who have the money to appropriate, should take some for themselves besides their salaries. So I have said on radio, and I challenge anybody to tell me legally that I'm wrong. It hasn't happened. That what the legislature did, approved by the president of Liberia, is misapplication of entrusted property. I wouldn't do that. And I will not excuse the progressives or jump over them because they did that. Or my former progressive allies, because I'm ashamed that action really shamed me. So I speak for myself, and I don't back what they do because we must not forget, I just said over 300,000 people die in this country. We lost progressive like Wotapia, Wiwi Daba, Tony Riches, and so many young, committed people who were killed because of the ideas they stood for. And then some of our comrades find themselves in the corridors of power and they forget the struggle of the past. I have no sympathy for them. I speak against them the same way I speak against other people.
Right.
But I speak for myself. That's why, when I was in government, I used to pray every morning, God, give me the courage to resist the temptation of doing the things that I shout at other people for. And thank God, God has given me the strength not to. You can't put corruption near my name or abuse of power.
Right. So thanks for that clarity. And I'll bring in Brother Fire. We got something to say. Councillor, we've been here 1 hour, 24 minutes now. I don't know if you're there with us for another, 10, 15 minutes, or 5, 10 minutes, if you don't mind, because I think our audience, they got a question for you. They love the conversation.
I'm a teacher. You want to spend 4 more hours and prepare for that.
Okay. All right.
That is people of weekend on. Yeah, but I just want to add on this. When we talk about the progressive, Ellen was also part of the progressive. but she was the leading voice of the female, and there were other female associated with the progressive, but she was the most outspoken female among the progressive, the men. So I just want to make that contribution that Ellen also was part of the progressive. If we speak about the progressive, the big brother here can tell me if I'm wrong or not. My question here, Councillor Gongloe, President Weah returns to the U.S. after 4 years since he became president, and he was showing his home in America. And the Liberian Constitution is somehow conflicting when it comes to this nationality. So President Weah has a home in America, and the video is there. He was talking about, oh yeah, it's good to be back home. So as I analyze the video and what he was saying, meaning that either he's an American citizen, because if he holds a resident permit in America, and according to the American, resident permit policy, one cannot stay out of the country more than a year. And he returning to America saying, oh yeah, it's good to be back home, and he got a property in America. Can you educate our people on that based on what is he saying that he back home now, returning back to the America, calling his second home? And people were saying that, oh yeah, he's under sanction, he cannot come to America. Can you little bit talk about that? Then I follow up my second question.
Okay, well, I've heard about child support and all of that, and some people have said the visa they gave me was for 25 miles radius. If he's gone to, I don't know whether he's gone to Florida or is at home in New York. I don't know where that home is located. I've not been following up on President Weah's visit so much because I don't expect anything positive from it for Liberia. So I've not been spending my time on that. I've been spending my time on educating the Liberian people about what I intend to do. But yes, you live in, if in America, the thing is that unlike Liberia, where you have to be a citizen to own land or own real property, in America, you don't have to be a citizen to own real property. So the other thing is, if he's an American citizen, then he did not get visa. And if they did not get visa to go to America, then that's something to check on. Because if you're an American citizen, then you have an American passport, so you don't need to get a visa. And if we can show that, and you people can do the research, if you let me know there's proof that President Weah is an American citizen, then we'll file a prohibition, we'll file something, we'll object to his candidacy, because even under the new dual citizen law, a dual citizen cannot run for elected post in Liberia. So then you will not be qualified to run. So as patriotic Liberians, everybody who's listening to me, everybody on the show, should make it a duty to go do the research and find out and give me the evidence that he is an American citizen, instead of speculating or presuming. Then we can do the legal thing by objecting to him, and then he will not run.
Then my second question, Councillor Gongloe, there are two in one. Most political parties will struggle, some of us struggle to define where they stand. Are they on the left, on the right, in the middle? Are they conservative? Are they, labor or whatsoever? Where do your parties stand, sir?
Left, right is no more really important in the world. What is important now is security. You are either supporting terrorism or you're a terrorist, because since the Berlin Wall fell, the leftism have not been a concept of concern, because now you have billionaires in China, you got billionaires in Russia and all of that. So I'm really not concerned about that. I'm concerned about the things that we are saying. We are concerned about putting Liberian interests first. For example, I've said I want to create millionaires and billionaires outside government, not inside government. We want to combat corruption. We want to make sure that there is respect for the rule of law, and the law applies equally to everybody, and there's respect for the rights of all Liberians consistent with the Constitution. There's equal treatment of all Liberians. These are the things we're talking about. So I'm not concerned about dogmas, whether somebody is left or right. I am concerned about getting Liberia to work for all Liberians so that it becomes a sweet land of liberty for all. So yeah, I'm not concerned about that.
Yeah, Councillor, but then how they call it? Some people were, found it a little bit difficult. For example, do you believe in socialism or capitalism? Which form of institution do you believe in that works better for the Liberian people?
Let me tell you.
Yes, sir.
The two major concepts are no more really in the world. I think everybody is trying to be pragmatic. Because for the time Wall Street fell and the White House built out Wall Street, capitalism fell. Because according to Adam Smith, government should not is against the real doctrine of capitalism for government to intervene in the public sector. And the center of capitalism was Wall Street. And Wall Street fell and was built out. So Wall Street fell, the Berlin Wall fell. So now I don't think there's any dominant ism in the world, capitalism or communism or socialism, because everybody is going by what works. In America, for example, there are a lot of public intervention in terms of subsidized housing, free food, just everything that works for the citizens is what is practiced. Even Obamacare that provides health service or health insurance for almost every citizen of the United States. If you look at it, there will be, close to what we used to refer to as socialism, thinking more about the welfare of the people. So in my view, as an economist, as a political analyst and a lawyer, I really don't bother myself with that anymore, because nobody is talking about that anymore. Because there's a little bit of capitalism in Russia, in China, otherwise they will not have billionaires. And there's a little bit of what we used to call socialism in America in terms of the welfare programs. Sometimes the Republican Party refer to the likes of Bernie Sanders and others who are considered progressives in the Democratic Party as socialists and all that. But even when the Republicans are in power, they still have to do something for the welfare of those who are the poorest or who are down the economic ladder, just to avoid increment in crime rate and to ensure that there is stability. That's what all governments do, to make sure there is stability and there is generalized satisfaction of people. Even when they come to talk about affirmative action, to make sure that people who cannot compete are considered, other parameters are used to get all of them involved. These are things that if you look at the dogmas straight, they will say, oh, this is socialistic. So I really don't bother myself with that anymore. And nobody, it's just that the concept of sovereignty in international law. Anybody who bothers with sovereignty too much is way behind, because most countries in the world are part of international organizations. Anytime you join international organization, for example, you derogate portion of your sovereignty, United Nations, African Union, whatever. So people should not be kept way behind. Nobody talk about communism and capitalism anymore.
Okay.
Brother Paul, just my last question. You as a counselor and somebody from a legal background, going back to a question I asked you when it comes to this president flying private jet, you have a lot to your disposal than I do as an ordinary person because you are in the spotlight. Are you going to take initiative to investigate as to how the president fly this private jet and how much it costs the country? Because every time he fly the private jet, it costs the country a lot.
That is true. I will look into that. I'll ask my partisans to the young people there to do some research for me. I would check on that, and I'm noting it down now. That's very, very important because if it is a gift, then it exceeds the amount that people are supposed to receive as gifts under the code of conduct. It exceeds $250.
Yeah. So thank you. Linford will come in with his question, Councillor, and then we will take we'll read some of the questions that were put off from the viewers. They got questions for you. So Linford, come in with your question, and then we can go to our audience.
Okay, Councillor, you mentioned that you fervently believe that this election, President Weah cannot even get 10%, or if he gets 10%, that is still below the winning margin. And so he's not going to win, so to speak. And you also asserted that you believe the election might end up in the opposition camp. Either an opposition will win, or if there is a runner-up, it might be between two opposition parties. Now, and you also mentioned something about unanimity of views or unanimity of platforms from the other political parties. So I have this very hypothetical question. Now, what if a Councillor Gongloe goes to second round against Weah? Is it possible that you're going to rally around the other opposition parties to beef you up? That's one part of the question. The second part is, what if another opposition goes up against President Weah, say Unity Party or the CPP? Are you willing to amass forces with them to get this government out?
I've never been neutral, in the political affairs of Liberia. I will always make a choice. And so I will make a choice depending on what happens at that time. And I don't want to say who I would choose at this point, but I will make a choice if that becomes the case. But I strongly believe that I will win. But if I don't win,
okay, Councillor, hold on, Councillor.
If I don't win,
let me cut you off. Let me cut you off. Sorry. You just said you cannot make a choice by now. The question is not about choice, because as it stands, nobody knows who's going to go second round or who's not going to go.
No, but I said I will make a choice if it comes to that.
And your choice would be in the opposition. Say another opposition goes against President Weah, who is the ruling party. So your choice might be in the opposition.
Oh, of course.
Right. Okay.
Great. Of course.
Okay. Wow. So, Councillor, before we get to the viewers' question, you've been our Solicitor General for Liberia, and you know that you did a great job over there. In recent time, there was a Booker case against an opposition leader in Liberia, and many of our viewers are saying you kept silent. Is that something you want to talk about? And because the whole justice system, it was internationally scrutinized, and it brought some sort of embarrassment to the country. Do you want to talk something about them about why you kept quiet at that time? And we know
Yeah, they think I'm a lawyer. Most of the people who are speaking were not lawyers, because under our code of conduct, a lawyer cannot speak about any matter that is before the court.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, when a matter is sub judice, you can't speak about it. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we'll go to the comments from Jamal. I want you to look at this question from our viewers. That's one of the questions came from Denise
Yeah.
Jamal?
There's a question there. Do you read, Councillor? It says, hi, Councillor. Hello, Councillor Gongloe. I really love your policy that I've heard so far. Is monopoly a law in Liberia? If it's not, how would that be addressed under your presidency, sir?
I think is terrible to have monopoly. I'm not sure of what is happening, but I understand that there's a company that has monopoly for the importation of rice, for example, and that is affecting the availability of rice in the country, and now the price is going up. Competition reduces price. It also improves quality, and that is what they call in economics the invisible hand. When people compete, they do well for society, even though the intention is not to do well for society, is to maximize profit, but they do well for society. For example, when we had Lone Star alone here, one SIM card I think was $65 or so. Then Cellcom came, and the thing dropped to I think $5, and then later on to $1 or so. So when a monopoly is not good, because when you have a monopoly, you don't have to do anything to impress the consumers. It's bad. It's really not good.
Well, I think that Denisa did follow. This was the reason why the person asked that question, because they had a trust cycle sent to Liberia, and this is what he's saying. I think that's where the question came from. But,
Okay.
So, yeah.
Put a question like Councillor read if he can react to that question. Put it back up, Paul.
It is normally it is Ministry of Commerce. You know, sometimes they can create monopoly by denying other competitors what the IPD, import permit declaration, and if they deny so many traders that are trading the same good, then the one person to give IPD to becomes a superstar on the market, and that can affect consumers. It's a decision made by Commerce Ministry.
Great.
Paul, I had a question for the council, if you mind.
Yeah, they'll read the last question, comment, then you come in, Jamal. Okay. Just one more.
Yeah, I thought Jamal, I want to chip in with something to just shut something.
Okay, Councillor, this one came from Shadelia Brown Choloplay. She said, Councillor, what are your weaknesses? You have mentioned many strengths. Thank you.
I can say perhaps my weaknesses is that I'm not in secret society organizations, and maybe there's an avenue for affiliation with a lot of decision makers. I don't drink, and therefore I'm not at the drinking tables where a lot of deals are made. And I think that would be my weakness, but that is also my strength. I think I spend a lot of time talking to a lot of young people in the street, going to the Thai shops and all of that. And yeah, so those are the things that I consider my weakness. And I have
that brings me in, that forces me to just interrupt. Are you not sympathetic towards people? Because as a human rights lawyer, sympathy, you have a lot of sympathy for poor people, for a lot of people. Is that
yeah, but I don't have sympathy for people who do wrong. I have sympathy for people whose rights are violated. Okay. And I may defend people who are in difficult situations. They are charged with offenses, so I may defend them to try to mitigate the situation. But that does not mean I'm in sympathy with them. You know, I'm in sympathy with victims more than perpetrators.
Okay. So, Jamal, you want to follow up then, brother Jody?
Yeah, Councillor, thank you. I just want to acknowledge here some awards you received for being a freedom fighter. I mean, speaking for freedom, like the one from Canada in 2003. That was the John Humphrey Freedom Award, and another one you received, I think, was Philip Randolph Banyard Roasting Award. Those are the one you did years back, and I will still acknowledge that right here. Thank you very much for the effort on behalf of Liberia. I'll go straight.
But why you left? Why you left the Human Rights Watch Award?
We'll go on that. I just want to give back. Just a lot to talking about the awards you have received, a lot of accolades you received. We appreciate that as a Liberian and also an activist.
And I was given the prestigious fellowship at Harvard. I was a W.E.B. Du Bois Fellow in 2004.
Congratulations.
At the Faculty of Arts and Science, where I did independent study on the justice system in Liberia, and that is what made me to be an effective Solicitor General, because I had an opportunity to study the justice system. I was also awarded another fellowship at Harvard, the John F. Kennedy School of Government, as a Human Rights Policy Fellow, where I met Samantha Power, who went on later to be United States ambassador to the UN. She's actually my friend. We just exchanged email not long ago. She's the head of global USAID for United States of America. I was also there as a fellow with Romeo Dallaire, the UN general that was in Rwanda, who refused to leave. And he wrote a book, Shake Hands with the Devil, and gave me an autograph, a copy to me. Another friend of mine in that fellowship that took high-level people from around the world was Rowan Stewart. Rowan Stewart was in the last government in Britain. He was a member of the British Parliament, and he became, I think, Minister of State for Development or something like that. We are on email with each other. Yeah.
Thanks for that.
So we've been all over the place.
So, Council, I'm coming to the question now. Thanks, Dal. I know we have a lot of international networks. I know in the long run you'll be able to flex those muscles on behalf of Liberia in our favor. But anyway, I'll take you back to Nimba County as the second rich vote county in the country. If you understand that we have at least four for now, but three, you, Senator Johnson, and Jeremiah Wapo running presidential hopeful from one county. What do you think? Is this not a chance of splitting the vote for Nimba County? Why can you produce one native for Nimba so you get all collective vote for one candidate instead of splitting the vote 3 or 4 candidates coming from the county?
Did you say Johnson?
No, I said there's a chance that Prince Johnson may put a candidate for his party.
No. Well, he's not.
Let's agree that let's have 2. Consider we have 2 now.
No, that is wrong, because Prince Johnson has already said he will support President George Weah. He has said that for more than 1 year repeatedly.
Yeah, okay. Let's agree. Council, let's agree now we have 2 persons, Jeremiah Wapo and you, running for the seat. Are you all for Nimba County? Why is it you guys are not putting on one candidate up as his child? As a candidate for Nimba instead of splitting your vote? Don't you think you're going to split the vote in Nimba County as the second rich vote county in the country?
I think, Jeremiah Wapo and I have been talking. We had lunch together. We actually agreed then that that was, I think, early this year, that if any of us is making mark and going forward and getting more support, then the other one will support the person who is gaining ground. And I told him, look, Jeremiah, if you start getting more support all around the country, because then I may even not go further. So if I gotten the indication that my brother Jeremiah Wapo had gone far, I will not even stood to be standard bearer of LPP last weekend. But up to last weekend, I had not seen much of Brother Wapo in many places. For example, I've gone to America, I've gone to 12 states. I've been to the Nimba County Convention. They're spoken to a convention that was attended by about 1,000 persons in Columbus, Ohio. And you can imagine those people have huge influence on the people back home. They call their home. These are the people who are creating stability in Liberia because they send money for food, they send money for school fees, they send money for rent, and they were happy. I was the only person from Nimba who has political intention that addressed the audience there. And I've gotten support from the Nimba elders. I've met all of the Nimba elders from the 9 districts in Cllr in a meeting chaired by the doyen of the Nimba County Chief Franklin Toy last year, and each of the district pledged support. And they made a commitment that now that we have decided to support our son, Cllr Gongloe, if any of our sons come behind Cllr Gongloe, we are going to tell him not to run, to sit and wait for another time. And they did it because my uncles from Bon County also attended that meeting in Cllr. They took a cutlass and gave it to the elders of Nimba and say, our in-laws, we have come to you to support our son to run for the presidency. We, his aunts and uncles, have decided to support him from Bon County, so we have come to you. And the Nimba County people accepted the Cllr that they gave plus the cutlass. And they said this cutlass, we gave him the cutlass, use it to cut up everything in front of our nephew here, your son. And the Nimba people, the Nimba elders took it. And if you don't know, both Nimba and Bon County are very traditional people. When they gave the word, they stand by it. And up to now, as I speak to you, the people of Nimba stand by their word, you know. Okay. So as far as I know, there will be one candidate that Nimba people will support. You have probably not heard Honorable Sam Koga saying, if Cllr Gongloe appears on any ballot of a party, anybody can carry millions of dollars to Nimba. Nimba County will vote for Cllr Gongloe not less than 90%.
So before Jody come in, let me just follow up quickly on what you just said that between you and Mr. Wapo. So if you found out that the other political parties into the race and they're making more headway than you, will you also align with any of those parties?
Man, Paul, you stole my question, my man.
Oh, sorry.
You have my phone.
So I said, did you hear me? I said I was not going to even stand to be standard bearer. Now I'm a standard bearer. Yeah. Any decision that I make, it depends on the party leadership. Okay. I'm not a dictator and I don't control what the party will say.
Yeah, because I was just about to go that direction too with rephrasing my question that if you put it in that way that because the person is from Nimba County and you people speak the same tongue, isn't that some form of tribalistic behavior which we Liberian, we struggle with up to now to how to eradicate this tribalism instead of people that do the good job of the Liberian people. But anyway, thanks for the clarification.
No, but I can still make comment on that. There are two ways that people affiliate. In fact, 2 or 3 ways. People affiliate either they are members of the same association, like a fraternity or church organization or some social organization, or they are members of the same political parties, or they come from the same area. And it's reasonable that when people come from the same area, they can reach certain compromises, and that is not tribalism. Just because you will be getting support from the same base, and you probably want not to fragment the votes from your area, you can do it. I mean, in this country, people have come from the same family. 2 brothers I know in Nimba are run for the same district to be representative. In the end, somebody beat them. If the younger brother had just stepped aside, the vote that he got would have gone for the elder brother, and the elder brother would have won. So we see these things, and that's what I'm talking about. That's not tribalism.
Okay, Councillor, let me get to my question. Most of the time, people within we in the opposition bloc, because including me, in the opposition bloc, we go after the current CDC government for mismanagement, corruption, abuse of power, lack of, security in the country, and etc. and etc. But here we had the UP government. I believe the Liberia national security apparatus, entire security apparatus, doesn't exceed 10,000 manpower, most especially our military that has the number one primary objective to protect life and property, both within and external. And the UP government for 12 years didn't do enough when we had 17,000 peacekeepers in the country, where we had the best of relationship during Madam Salih's time with the international community. Did not do enough to build our military to at least 20,000 manpower. Now, my question come in, continue with, do you think the UP government should be held responsible and the vice president should be held accountable also for some of the wrongs, good were done during the UP government, and a lot of things were done, wrong were done during the UP government. Do you think the vice president should also be held accountable?
You know, when you talk about the military, me, I'm not an expert. So perhaps you are an expert. So I cannot say the security force that we need to really protect Liberia, 20,000 or 30,000 or 5,000 or 10,000. I really have, that's not my area. And I will not even pretend to know anything about it.
Yeah, sorry, so I just have to interrupt you here. I'm talking about looking at the crimes being committed across the country. We have lack of securities. From the southeast to every part of the country, we have lack of security. In some counties, you got maybe 10 police officers, and they cannot cover the entire county. So I'm talking about the whole entire security structure of the country, not specifically to the military. And you from the legal background.
And so let me say this, that it is not always the number of security force that matters. I did an international security, international crime studies along with the current Chief Justice when she was an ordinary lawyer back in 1997 in the United States. We went to a town called Johnstown with a population of 100,000 people, and we were told that there were only 49 police officers in that town, but the 49 police officers have fought to control drug, the level of drug usage in that town, because they engage in strong community policing. They have communication gadgets. They have enough vehicles for the non-police officers. And because they build a strong relationship with the community, they were able to control crime. So you can have the numbers, but if you don't have the training, the strategies, and the logistics to combat crime, you stay with that. And so you will promote more crime based on. So like I said, that's not my area, but I think there are many things that you need to do to control crime. For example, you need to create jobs. If you create a lot of jobs, young people are busy. If you create a lot of opportunities for young people who are engaged in crime, you have a lot of jobs. You have sports and entertainment things going on. You have other things to attract the attention of young people, and they are spread all over the country and not concentrated in Monrovia, for example, or concentrated in few urban areas. You might reduce crime. There is a strong relationship between economic activities and the level of crime. If you have a bad economy, crime rate goes up as well. So I unless you have done study or read study to show why we have a huge crime rate, and not just say because we do not have enough police officers or immigration officers or soldiers or whatever. I haven't done that study, so I won't reach a conclusion with you. Let's look at it.
Yeah, Councillor Gongloe. Even Singapore, one of the least one of the countries with the lowest crime rate in the world, also have, a military or security institution that protect the country both within and externally. So just to say that it doesn't matter how, stable or the jobs the country create, but a country must have, with all the logistics, must have a security institution to protect its citizens, regardless the economic or infrastructure development of that country. Just to say that. So.
And also the politics of the country. If a
Yes.
government is committed to protection,
Yes, sir.
and give the guidance to the security forces and say, even a word that nobody touch my citizens is sufficient to make police officers and people to be very careful. And then if they are derelict in the performance of their duty, there are consequences like dismissal, suspension, other form of punishment. But if nothing happens to people, then even if you have so many police officers and they are derelict, it still will not provide the answer that you're looking for.
Okay.
Yeah,
So based
Brother Paul, please. I asked you a question and you kind of jump over it because you are
Which
a
one?
you are a skillful politician.
No, remind me.
So
Remind me.
I asked you a question about we in the opposition bloc only criticize this current government when it comes to mismanagement, insufficiency of security, and misappropriation, and etc. and etc. But the UP-led government was in power for 12 years. Do you believe?
Oh no, let me answer that question.
Let me learn because
I'm reminded now.
Do you believe in assets recovery that will go as far as to the UP government? Are you interested in assets recovery? Because there was from the knockout to a lot of institutions that were bankrupt under the UP government. Are you also in favor of assets recovery?
Okay, but if I remember now, another question you asked.
Yeah, that was not a question, but
you just revised the question. I don't want to. Yeah, so
your professor won't keep you up.
Yeah. So if you say accountability, you yourself heard Ambassador Barker say in 2017, we squander the opportunities, right?
Yes.
So if somebody admits, he already admitted to what you said, that there were things that should have been done that were not done. So you don't need me to say anything like that. But the other thing is that you realize that, and like I told you earlier, I resigned, or maybe I have not said it, I resigned from the UP government in 2010, before it reached its 6th year. So I didn't even go the second term of President Salih's government. So I cannot, and then immediately I left. I was the first to start calling President Salih names about corruption and a conflict of interest and nepotism, and even calling upon her to step down. If you go on the internet and go right back to Cllr Gongloe 2011, 2012, you hear me. So I do not exclude anyone who has gone against the best interests of Liberia. I don't have any untouchable in my politics, really.
Great. So, Councillor, thank you for that. Linford, before we close, we've been here 2 hours, 3 minutes now. The councillor have to sleep, and we also have to go. You want to ask a last question, and then we can wrap this up?
One short little question. Councillor, a lot of people have been complaining that in Nima County, probably because of your beliefs or your tough stance, you have not supported some of the candidates that have been vying for some positions. How do you think you're going to get a cooperation of those people if it is true that you have not actually supported some of them in the past?
Well, just as Prince Johnson says he is supposed President Weah, that is his view. Myself, I supported President Salih. In a democracy, we can make those choices. All right? Yeah, so it is fair to make those choices. I have no look. I talked to Prince Johnson, over the past 1 month. I've talked to him 2-3 times. Somebody came to my office and said, "Oh, you and Prince John got problem." I said, "We got no problem. He and I used to live behind the city hall, in the late 70s, even 1985 and all that before he went to exile." I said, "Let me prove to you that I don't have a problem with Senator Johnson. We have differences of views on issues. People must understand that that's how democracy is. And God made us to be critical. Just like I can look at Linfa in the eye and say, you got a coal in your eye. And we said, I'm not true, I don't have a coal in my eye, then he's ignorant because God made him not to see his own eyeball, but you can see my own. Or, I can say, I can look at Linfa with a white shirt, he turned by his I said, Linfa, you got your bike got red oil on the white shirt. He said, no, I just took the white shirt from my wardrobe. It's clean. Unless you look in the mirror, you cannot disagree with me because God made us to, made us to be subjected to criticism. That way he didn't make us to be able to see our bike so that somebody else can see our bike. So people disagree. Disagreement is not enmity, but people get bothered when people disagree on national issues. I have no problem with Prince Johnson that he's supporting President Weah. You know what I mean? That is view. Look, so the president came to my office. I called Senator Johnson. As now he saw I said, hello, my senator. He said, my senator, oh boy. Oh, when can we get together? George Bracey, we all used to live behind the city hall. So we need to get together. And we had a congenial conversation for like 2 minutes. So I said, okay, Senator, I'll talk to you. So I asked the president, I said, does it look like people who got problem? And he said, oh, and he started smiling. Oh, I thought you had a problem. I said, we don't have a problem. When I hear people disagree on the radio, it had nothing to do with personal relationships.
Right. So, Counselor, it was good having you on this program. And the question that been hanging around, one of the viewers asked this question, said, to liberate Liberia, it's in about time that that go back to Lima Boy issue that she raised, that opposition need to come together. Here is Spencer Brown asking you the same question here. Why not join the CPP to liberate Liberia?
Which CPP? Is there a CPP still?
It is.
I don't know.
So that's...
I live in Liberia, so I don't know whether there's still a CPP. Just because some people claim to have a CPP does not mean CPP that we know exists. Right. I can tell you, if CPP that we know was effective, I have no lifelong ambition to be president. Okay. I will have given them my ideas and said my ideas to them and say, look, let's fight corruption this way, let's do it this way, let's do it. But CPP destroy itself. The ruling party had nothing to do to destroy the CPP. And I think they started on the wrong footing because I think that when the ideas can keep people together. That's why you have people in America in one party called Democratic Party because they are liberals. And the more liberal you are, the more acceptable you are in the Democratic Party, people will support you. Then you have the conservatives, and they call themselves the Republican Party. And it is that idea that keeps them together. So until some politicians come together and say, you know what, Abin, this is what we think is wrong with Liberia, this is how we think we should fix it. I'll give you an example for the people who talk about collaboration. So, for example, if the members of the CPP, the four political parties that come together and say, you know what, let's examine, and they had enough time to do it because 2 years ago they started. Let's examine what is wrong with Liberia. And they all agree. Then they sign the paper and say, yeah, this is what is wrong with Liberia. They say, now how do we solve it? Suppose for an idea, for argument's sake, they have said, look, we need to develop Liberia along the path of agriculture. We will grow food, we'll grow tree crops, we'll open agro industries, and we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll add value to agricultural products, and Liberia will develop, will forget about minerals and all that, and Liberia will develop on an agricultural agenda and say there are countries that have developed an agricultural agenda, the Ivory Coast. And therefore, let us agree and we sign that our development policy will be along the path of agriculture. You, 4 of you, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. Who you think are going to choose? It will be Joseph Boakai. Because they sign and agree, because they will say Joseph Boakai is the one that got education and agriculture. He's the one that has had an agriculture parastatal, I had an agriculture ministry. It would have been easy to decide. But let's flip it around and say, all right, you know what happened? We need for Liberia to be a country based on entrepreneurship, develop the private sector business. You know, we don't have to be, you know, South Korea does not produce iron ore, but it has a steel plant. Can we form giant corporations and add value to product, import things here, be an exporter of products that we don't produce here? We want to create a strong business, a society, a country that will develop based on development of our corporate enterprises, our entrepreneurial ability. Obviously, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. Everybody in our group will say, oh, you know, Alexander Cummings is the one that got major private enterprise experience. He's being a vice president of a major corporation in the world. So since we agree this is the path of development, let us choose Cummings. But to say to come together, yeah, let's just come together. And like the thing we used to do in the interior, we playing tennis, but we just come together, no rules, or we just come together. Yeah. Then they put on the other side. No left wing, no right wing, no center. You're just playing the ball, you're following, you're going to school. That type of coming together doesn't make much sense to me.
Great.
They got a team coming together. That is same coming together that Warren factions are doing, and they're coming together are inherently corrupt. They produce inherently corrupt government. They come together and say, yeah, let's divide the ministry. When the other person get the standard bearership, the other one get the minister, this ministry, that is mortgaging the future of Liberia. I don't like that type of collaboration. So let them collaboration based on ideas is stronger.
Councillor Gongloe, thank you for, what you just stated, that there were some mistakes made according to you, and which is your opinion, but I believe the late Charles Walker Bronskin, who was a founding member of this institution and from a legal background, because it is you're entitled to your opinion in as much as I am entitled to my opinion. But I see some unfairness here when a group of men, and these are some of the reasons we have this problem in Liberia, that people don't respect even the words from their mouth, then come to something that is on paper. Group of men, intellectual, well-educated people got together and put together a framework document that's supposed to go, that they will get an elected person through a process that the Liberian people will be satisfied with to choose a candidate. And that process was abused. And some people don't have the guts to come out and call a spade a spade. Then I have problem with some people that want to be leader in Liberia, because you from a legal background, there were things that were wrong in the CCP that led to the breakup of CCP.
CPP.
Some people, yeah, the CCP. The CPP. Yeah, the CPP still exists, regardless of 2-3 party. Just for, I know you own a political, campaign and publicity, but there is still a CCP, regardless of
CPP. You keep saying CCP.
CPP rather. CPP, okay? But there is a CPP that still exists between the ANC and the Liberty Party. So just to make that clear, my question here is that we had a.
Oh, you have to ask a question. I thought you said the thing finished.
He just won't slip a loud question in there, then we can close out. Councillor.
All right, go ahead.
Do you believe in do you believe in the public having a say when it comes to choosing a candidate, for example, that want to run on a political party slot, for example, like being a senator or a representative, instead of being handpicked by a political leader? Do you believe that the partisan should have a say as to, for example, if you want to choose a Linford from Ganta or from Cllr to run as a representative, do you believe that you should pick Linford, or the people from in that constituency? The party should put up those that want to contest for that position. They should go through a referendum and let the people choose who they want.
Yeah, you mean a primary? No, in a political party. Yeah, if there are two persons in a political party and they want to run for the same seat, the right thing to do is to have an objective criteria for selection instead of the standard bearer. I don't even like the idea. In our party, LPP, we don't have political leader or first partisan. We have standard bearer. That's it. So, and standard bearer does not have any exceptional role. You don't have a controlling role. You're not someone like king in a party. So let the partisan decide who they want to represent them for the senatorial candidate or representative thing. But if that one person and the person is uncontested, then But I agree with you. I agree with you that when there are 2 or 3 persons running, they should subject them to some sort of objective criteria. That's election.
Yes, sir. I asked you the question because the reason I asked you the question was as to where does your party stand. If your party is a Labour Party or Conservative Party, which is made up of all religious and XYZ. So what if your lawmaker goes into, one of your lawmakers were elected, and your party doesn't have a foundation that what it stands for, and go into the House and start to vote for XYZ across? For example, when it comes to, let us say, same-sex marriage, and your party doesn't stand for, Labrimpo don't know where your party stand, what your party stand for. So is there any basic fundamental principle that your party, okay, so we stand for this when it comes to Liberia society in general? Does your party have something like that?
Our party has a constitution and got a 10-point principles that will go by. So, but we do not hold people for their views to say, to control you. Will tell you. The only thing is you go in there and you behave in a way that is inconsistent with what the party stands for. You can be sure that next election you may not be carried, and that the reason why some people can leave the party and go to another party, So
Okay. Thank you, Councillor. It was great having you here. And by the way, I came from a progressive background, just to let you know, and my mentor was the late Dr. Thomas J. I also from the Moja group. So just to let you know. So I listen to you.
my good friend, but I used to advise him every day and say, Jay, don't kill yourself, stop getting fat. Because we met 2 weeks before he died, we met at Era supermarket, and he was walking on the street floor and breathing like he was climbing a tall hill. I said, why are you doing this to yourself? And it was just less than 2 weeks that he passed. Somebody was holding his basket and he was walking and breathing like that. So you young people, you take care of yourself. Jay and myself were the same age, but I exercise every day. I watch what I eat. You just have to take care,
Yeah. So it was good having you here. The platform is open. We hear your uncle, Linford. He's the director of this platform. So it's good having you here. And I just want
I'm sure before election day I could appear many times.
So you guys want to say something before the councilor leave quickly? No question.
No,
Jamal?
no question. Jamal can go first. I'll be the last.
Jamal, you muted.
I don't have a question. I just want the councillor to leave us with some parting views. That's what I want. If the councillor, if you can give us some parting, what would be a parting views for us for the Northern Liberia? That's what I want. I would like to say thank you very much for coming. We appreciate having you here.
So I know many Liberians are listening. Let us not buy pig in the bag as we did in 2017. everything we do in life must be based, selection or election, anyone must be based on education and experience. You know, today I was speaking to some people and I said, what if you have a hunter who is so generous, can give meat to everybody when he kills the meat? Early in the morning, you go and look at his trap. He doesn't know what is happening in town. Woman palaver, land issue, people making palaver with each other. He doesn't care. He doesn't know. And now the time comes for paramount chieftaincy election. Then you have town chief running, zone chief running, clan chief running. So you from the town, are you going to vote for the zone chief or this general's hunter? And a lot of people say, yeah, oh, the hunter, because the hunter can give us meat free, we don't buy it. I say, you see, that means you'll make the same mistake you made 2017 again. You got to go. Why wouldn't you vote for the clan chief who had been quarter chief, a town chief, zone chief? Let us vote for people who have experience. Our own Liberian parable says, you cannot trust a man to plant new mat if he are not showing you the old mat. Show me the old mat so I can believe you when you say you can plant a new mat. That is a traditional wisdom that is in all ethnic groups in Liberia, and I think it should guide our decision in 2023 and will not be based on Berkeley rights or scholarship that is provided 3 months towards the election or giving zinc or bags of cement to people 3 months before election. And I think this is the kind of education that your platform should give to a lot of Liberians because, you know, when you vote for people that are 6 years of suffering or 6 years of enjoyment, but the decision rests with the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you. Great having you. And so, Joe, I mean, to you guys, it was a great show. And then, Councillor, if you want to stay for our closing, you're welcome. Or if you want to take a leave, it's also so.
Now, Saturday evening, let me go.
I thought Jerry wanted to say something before we close.
Jerry want to say something before? Go on.
I just want to say thanks to the Honorable Councillor for being here, and wish that he and other, legal minded in Liberia will be able to push for the idea that Liberia in the diaspora should be able to vote in our constitution, to have a say in our constitution, because looking at the financial, standard of our country, Liberia in the diaspora, they contribute a lot to the economy of the country. So I wish that he would join Mr. Cummings, because one question I wanted to chip in with, is he going to join Mr. Cummings? Because Mr. Cummings is one of the only person that will be pushing this call that Liberia in the diaspora should vote. But having said that, he continued on it. So I wish Councillor Gongloe, because now I want to believe that Councillor Gongloe, I'm not a political novice, right? But Councillor Gongloe is on the introduction level. Most cases, sometimes a newcomer can win. First time participating in an election can win. It happens in countries across the globe. So it won't be surprising to me. But I wish that he would join Mr. Cummings in pushing this, because we got almost 1 million Liberians that live outside, from Australia to Europe, Asia, and America. So I wish he would join Mr. Cummings in advocating with our lawmaker that it is about time, if not this time, the next coming election, that Liberian will be able to vote from the diaspora. So that's my recommendation to the council.
You know, the Constitution provides for absentee voting. So when you read, and I think maybe the Election Commission has not been doing it because of money, but that is provided for in the Constitution. I think you support Mr. Cummings, but Mr. Cummings has a personal reason for that advocacy, even though that advocacy is right. But he says, watching on Arise television in Nigeria, when he said, if there's diaspora voting, I will win the election. So he thinks that his biggest base is in the diaspora. So it is not just an objective advocacy, and an advocacy based on a strong feeling that is what is going to put him over the cliff.
You, Councillor Gongloe, in as much as, to say this about Mr. Cummings, you are one of the most popular person in the diaspora. So let us not look at the political aspect. We should look at the positive aspect as to what.
Oh, is that so? I didn't know that.
It will, honestly speaking, had it not been for Mr. Cummings, I would be supporting you. I will be organizing on behalf of you, because I watched you, collectively, your interview to the TRC, and I'm in love with you. But as the saying goes, I choose Mr. Cummings, and you come into the picture of recent. But had it not been so, honestly speaking, I will follow you, and there are some historical connection that I can say on this public platform. But I admire you.
All right. Good night. I think that's enough.
Thank you, Councillor. It's good having you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, guys, it was a good show. Really good show, and I think we like the councillor. He spoke well. That was good. Should I?
Yeah, you need to log the councillor.
Yeah, councillor is still. He will log. Okay. Yeah. So the show was good, guys. So I just want to make the announcement to our viewer. On Tuesday, we'll be having Representative Larry Yankwe on this show, Linford, and then next Saturday we'll have our good Liberians, German Liberian GGG will be appearing next Saturday on this platform as well. So we're looking forward to the Tuesday and Saturday show. Any other announcement before we close with this beautiful number one hit from you, Jim Fagon?
Brother Paul, I don't know if you guys are in a hurry, but I want us to have a little, chit chat to.
Yeah, after this.
After what? Music?
Yeah, when we close all this program, we're still live.
We are still live.
Okay.
So, Jamal, brother, it's good to have all of you. It was a great show, and I thank our listener. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back here on Tuesday. The normal time, we should be 7 o'clock UK time, and then next Saturday the same time, 7 o'clock UK time. So Larry Yankwe is in the house, and the following Saturday we'll have GGG. So on that note, I will say good night, and I'll leave you with this beautiful number one hit from Eugene Fagon.
I cannot get me for late here to drive for the $7,000 car. Now what's what camping for? That's stupid. That is what camping for your steps on to wash a car. With more shopping, 350 you better. That is what camping. That is what camping. Or you feel like to eat lobster and he's showing the baby chicken and driving at the $8,000 car. That is what camping. That is what camping. For Janako to be controller general. Why a web that this is it was. That is what camping. That is what camping. For Bessie Yeke to be head of place. Why a web that one of the people want to NASCAR. That is what camping. That is what camping. For Emma Castro to be the head of NAFA. While husband is a consultant to Marita. That is what camping. Oh, that is what camping. So family, there's the happy. I'm going into detail. That's stupid. I miss you.